Should we start? I usually have a little talk.
Do we have everybody in there? Not here. Not here. We wait 5 minutes and that's it.
Yeah.
Actually, I think I see somebody walking in. I'm not sure. Wow, I'm so dead on. Like, my yoga senses is like my spidey senses. Just ask them if I can come. Wait. Yes, somehow. Can you shout at them and move faster?
Right now everything is up.
Okay, tell me.
That's good. Only on him is good.
Well, I can't do it only on him.
That's good. That's good. That's good. You don't need to
Yes, stop.
Like this?
That's good.
Okay, don't start until we have the intro. I think they should be on the mat in case they fell asleep.
Yeah, that's the same. People will
I'm not even joking.
No, people will fall asleep. I'll talk about that as well.
How many minutes are you going to play?
We are doing a 90-minute session. I'm going to be playing about 60 minutes.
60 minutes?
Yeah.
I'm just going to take a video on the first 5 minutes, and then I'm going to go back and play.
Yeah, usually I'll talk for the first 10, and then we'll do a guided meditation to begin, actually. If you want to just set up a phone on the side, you can. Or...
Yeah. Oh, you mean the time? I thought it's camera. Okay. We're all about camera.
No, we're talking about camera. I'm keeping time on my watch. If not, we'll be here all night.
Right.
I have to set a timer.
Okay. Buddy is a bathroom.
It's okay.
Okay, so today we have Mark here. Mark is also a yoga instructor, and also he is doing the sound bath today. I know him for years, so take it over.
Good evening. Oh.
God, Lisa, why does it has to be you?
So it's a 60-minute sound bath session, right? Can you give us like kind of mark-offs in like 10 or 15-minute increments? That way we know. Is that possible?
So it's actually, we're doing 90 minutes. We'll be about 60 minutes in sound. And then there's I'm doing a little bit of talking in the beginning, and then guided body scan meditation, breath work. And then we'll do another set at the end. So it's 90 minutes end to end for this session.
How long's the meditation portion?
It depends. I don't have a set time that I put, but I allocate about 15 minutes in the beginning for kind of talking intro and then settling in. Yeah.
Is it possible to just give off like 10 or 15 minutes? So that way we know like how far into it we are?
No.
No.
And that's actually part of it, is to let go and release. And actually we'll talk, I was going to talk about kind of temporal sense as part of the talk, yeah. So, and I think after I talk, it'll make a little bit of sense why I'm saying no. So good evening, everybody. My name is Mark. I used to teach with Barry at Vibe Yoga back in, 2010-ish, 12, 15, I don't know. Everything's kind of a time warp these days, years ago. And I got into sound meditation probably around 2012. I happened to stumble into it at a yoga music festival. And I had a bunch of friends telling me, you have to go check out this sound bath thing. And I was like, what is that? And again, we were at a yoga music festival where there's multiple sound stages, people walking by. And I was skeptical as I kind of got lay down, because you can hear the people talking, the people walking, the base of 3 stages blaring. And then when they started doing it, I went from being at the festival grounds to this etheric space where all I can hear was this hum, and that was it. The sound of the music, the sound of the people talking, the sound of the footprints, all kind of melted into the distance. And at that point, I was like, what was that? That was amazing. I felt like I was sleeping and I was awake. I was here, but I was not. I was in my body, but I was also having this kind of astral projection. It was the most bizarre thing that I've ever felt in my body. and in my mind. And since then, I've kind of sought out sound baths in the Bay Area. Back then, around 2012, 14, there wasn't a whole lot in the South Bay. If you want to go sound healing, they had some in San Francisco, at the Cathedral, Berkeley, and Santa Cruz. LA had a lot, but not in the South Bay. And then over the course of the last couple of years, more practitioners kind of came up. And now, fortunately, there's a lot of studios now offering this as kind of a workshop, or I've done with some yoga teachers partnerships of restorative yoga and sound bath. And you'll see some of that in the Bay Area. So that's how I got into this. Now, the sound meditation is a very personal experience. It is different for every single person. It's different every time. So I kind of set up that how I got into it, but don't have that as your expectation. Like, yes, I'm going to outer space this afternoon. Wake me up, Barry, when it's time to move again. That might be your experience. That might not. Some of you might have a visceral reaction to one of these bowls. And I'll explain what the bowls are and my instruments in a bit, but some of you might have visceral reaction, right? It might feel uncomfortable. Some parts might feel really soothing and calm, other parts might feel jarring. So just to give you that warning. And again, it's a very personal experience, and that might be your experience today. And if you were to come into another session with me, in the future, it might be a whole different feeling. It depends on how your body, how you're feeling, where your energy levels are, what's going through your mind, and what's going through your emotions. This time of the year, the Thanksgiving into the New Year is a very hectic time of the year for a lot of people, right? It's a lot of hectic energy. Just on my way over here, I just got rear-ended.
Oh no.
So it's like, oh, not my bowls. I care about my car, my bowls, right? Car insurance will take care of the cars. My bowls are not insured right now, so I was really worried about that. A lot of stuff going on, and so this time of the year is where I really love to offer this as an offering to students. And I usually do a lot of sessions come the December time period, because it's where I feel like a lot of people need that kind of 60 minutes, 75 minutes, 90 minutes of just laying here, doing nothing, right? There's a lot of go, go, go energy in the Bay Area, especially this time of the year. There's a lot of go, go. I have to go to work, I have to pick up the kids, I have to go Christmas shopping, I have to go grocery shopping, I have to go to Costco. Oh, it's a weekend, I'll wait for that weekday, right? There's a lot of things going around, right? Our monkey minds are super active this time of the year. And they're usually super active altogether, but I think just that extra added energy adds to it. And so as you come into this session, your monkey mind might start activating, right? You start thinking of the to-dos, the have-nots, what's coming up for the week, what you didn't get done over the weekend. That's fine, that will happen, right? Like any meditation, acknowledge that that's happening, and then just come back to the present moment, right? Come back into this room. And as we start, I'll start off with a little bit of breath work, body scan, a little light meditation, and then we'll get into it. Now, as we come into this session, it's entirely up to you whether you want to stay seated, if you want to lay down, or I can even invite you to take some restorative poses. So if you want to take a very, very gentle very gentle restorative practice, I invite you to do that. But I ask that if you do move, do it slowly, quietly, as to respect your neighbors. Yeah. If you are going to take yoga poses, find a way to keep track of how long you're in one side versus the other. There is a chance that some of you will fall asleep. You don't want to fall asleep in half pigeon right leg for 60 minutes. The afternoon might feel a lot uncomfortable.
Ask Barry to pinch yourself.
Take a few breaths, right? Count your breaths. Just feel when it's ready to move on to the side. One side might need a little bit more time than the other, but just be mindful that you may fall asleep. Yeah. And again, some of you might fall asleep. If you catch yourself falling asleep and you're laying down, I invite you to sit up. Yeah. Or go on one side. Take some subtle shifts. Has anybody ever practiced Yoga Nidra? Great. So a couple folks. So Yoga Nidra, yogic sleep, translation. It's a very restorative form of yoga practice. It's more meditative than anything. You're laying there the entire time. Right? There's a little bit of breath work, a little bit of mental work where you're doing body scan. That's how we'll begin. But it's not like your traditional vinyasa class where you're taking poses. Yoga Nidra, you get into a comfortable laying position and you stay there for 75 minutes. In a Yoga Nidra session, what we want to do is straddle that line between conscious and unconscious. Yeah. And that's kind of that gray area when you're falling asleep, or you're kind of asleep, but kind of not. Right? You're kind of thinking, but you're also like, am I asleep or am I dreaming? That's where we want to be during this session, right? So that we're not so much in the thinking mind, that the monkey mind is active, again, thinking about the to-dos, the have-nots, this weekend, the coming week. We also don't want to be fast asleep where we're snoring, right? We want to straddle that line between conscious and unconscious, just like we do in Yoga Nidra. And in that realm where we straddle conscious and unconscious, there's a lot of healing that happens in the body. The human body is amazing, all the way down to the subatomic and cellular level in its repair mechanisms. Unfortunately, we just don't give it the chance to do the self-repair, right? We lack sleep, sometimes we lack nutrition, we're overstressed, our cortisol levels are through the roof, right? We're high on caffeine throughout the week. I know I am during like the weekday. And so that tends to hinder the healing ability. And so when we straddle that line between conscious and unconscious, we're giving the body the opportunity to do nothing. We're giving the body the opportunity to heal itself, to replenish itself. And again, there's a chance there when you're in that realm that you could fall asleep. And that's okay. If you fall asleep, it's probably because your body needed it. And acknowledge that you fell asleep and be okay with it. But again, if you catch yourself falling asleep and then adding to the soundscape, that's when Barry and I might tap you, yeah. And I do this monthly or every other month now at a yoga studio, guaranteed 25% of the class will fall asleep. I've had people fall asleep within the first 5 minutes. I had a studio owner, but right when we were doing a sound healing session, and when we opened the studio, it was a housewarming. And she was getting the studio ready, working late nights to get the flooring done, and then we did the sound healing. And I started off with, it was a smaller gong than this, but I started off with the gong, and at the end she's like, "I'm surprised you didn't play your gong." I was like, "Where were you?" We started with the gong. I was like, "Wow, you fell asleep when we were doing the meditation." How do you miss a gong? She needed that sleep, right? And she was like, "Oh man, I missed the gong." It's like, no, you didn't miss it. You were there. You just weren't conscious about the gong. So some of you might fall asleep, right? And some of the instruments that I'll play, again, some of it might be soothing, will lull you. Some of it might be jarring. I've had polar opposite reactions to some of these instruments. Like I have an ocean drum, and it sounds like the ocean. Some students love it, like, "Oh, it made me breathe slower. It was very calm." Another student said, "I felt like I was going to drown." That was in the same class, yeah. Everybody was hearing the same thing, but the way that you're interpreting it, the way that your energy is flowing, and the way that you're receiving it's going to be different for each person. That's why it's very personal. So I asked that if you find one of these instruments or any of the sounds uncomfortable, jarring, try not to focus on the jarring part, yeah? Acknowledge that you're uncomfortable, acknowledge where that discomfort is in your body, how it's showing up in your body. But try not to focus on that discomfort, rather come back to your breath, focus on the inhales and the exhales. Yeah, just like meditation, right? We acknowledge that our mind has wandered, bring it back to the present moment. The instruments that I have, so my primary instruments are crystal singing bowls. Each one of these bowls are a different note. And I like to talk about the esoteric and the physics side of this. I'm an engineer by trade, so I like the science side as well as the esoteric. And so from a physics perspective, each one of these bowls, I'll play the large one, will resonate a tone. This is a pure tone, yeah? And so as this tone plays, imagine a sound bubble emanating from this bowl filling this room. And unfortunately it's wood here, so the wood's gonna absorb some of it, but it'll also bounce. Yeah, and so as a sound bubble expands throughout this room, it'll bounce off the walls. And that bounce creates a subtle frequency shift. And also as I strum it, imagine a bubble like moving in a circle, right? And there's a subtle frequency shift. It's very subtle, a couple of hertz. You can't discern it, but your mind can. And has anybody heard of the concept of binaural beats? Some college students use it for study. It's a great way to focus the mind, binaural beats. What it is a subtle shift between the left ear and the right ear. You're hearing the same thing, but just a subtle frequency shift. And that subtle frequency shift is tune to the brainwave frequencies, the alpha, beta, delta, gamma. Right? Again, you can't discern it, but your mind can. And what will happen for some folks is that binaural beat that the brain is interpreting creates the brain to focus on that. It starts to kind of align the brain waves and can bring the brain into a very meditative state. And I like to say that sound healing is a great way to do a 60, 75, 90-minute meditation without even trying, right? Because some of you will get into this very deep meditative state, again, that area between conscious and unconscious, without even going through the rigor of breath work or love and kindness or other meditation practices, right? The brain will automatically start to come into that meditative space, very focused space where the thinking mind begins to shut off. And then we're just allowed to just be, right? And enter into that healing space. So that's kind of the scientific side. On the kind of esoteric side, each one of these bowls, again, are tuned to a frequency. Each frequency is said to be tuned to a chakra, the energy center in the body, right? Coming from the root to the crown of the head. And as the bowls, as I play the bowls and I strum the bowls, again, that vibration will fill this room, it'll enter and penetrate your body. And it's said that those vibrations will help facilitate movement of energy within that chakra. Yeah. And within that chakra, a lot of times energy tends to get locked there, especially in the root chakra for a lot of folks. Yeah. A lot of emotions get locked in the root and the pelvis. And so as I play these bowls, that vibration can help facilitate energy movement, energy release, energy flowing up and down your chakras through the spine, and even energetic release. That being said, there may be some of you that might have an emotional reaction to the bowls, especially the root chakra and the heart chakra. If you catch yourself crying, laughing, feeling grief, any kind of emotion, perfectly natural. Acknowledge that emotional release is happening. Try not to get to an analytical side and say, where is this coming from? Was this from, so-and-so's passing a couple years back? Was this from the fight that I had this past weekend, right? Try not to analyze it. Just acknowledge the emotion that you're feeling and then come back to the present moment. Come back here into this room. And again, I've had students cry in these sessions. And if you're anything like me, you might have a time delay. I usually have these releases physically about 2 days later. And so you might cry or laugh out of nowhere a day or two later. Perfectly fine, right? Note that you had the session. Maybe that's where that release came from. And so, again, that energy release going through the chakra can make it very soothing for some people. It can also make it very uncomfortable. Again, especially the root and the heart chakra. If there are things that are stuck there, those tones might feel like nails on a chalkboard. Perfectly okay. Acknowledge that that's happening. Focus on the breathing. It might be something that you just need to facilitate releasing out. Yeah. I also have a gong behind me. That's my other my other instrument that I like to play. That one is not tuned to any particular frequency, and in fact, depending on how I play it with the different strikers, they will produce all kinds of different tones. Some people like metal in terms of sound healing. Other people like crystal, vice versa. It all depends on the person, depends on the practitioner. Excuse me. There are also other instruments that other practitioners play, like a didgeridoo, chimes, and with the chimes, and a number of other plethora of instruments. It's really up to the practitioner on what instruments they resonate with. I would love to do a didgeridoo, but it's hard. I have a cheap one and it doesn't work very well. Question?
I noticed you have 8 bowls.
There's 2 root chakras. Yeah, this was my first root chakra, and then I got a bigger one, bigger root. So yeah, these are the same. They sound slightly differently just because of the amplitude of the sound, and so I'll play them at different times. Yeah. Good question. What else? Talked about the instruments. Yeah, so let's begin, shall we? Come into any comfortable position. So some of you are starting to lay down. Some of you might choose to stay seated. If you are seating, just check in. How are you feeling seated? Do you feel supported? Is there anything that you might need to feel even more supported? Maybe taking a jacket or sweater, rolling that up and tuck it underneath the sits bones to raise the pelvis up a few inches. If you are near a wall, you can take a seated position and lean up against the wall for support.
Making sure that you don't touch the picture over there, okay?
If you are laying, check in on your lower back. Is this conducive? Is this position conducive for your lower back, or do you need to bend the knees? Maybe take an Ardha Shavasana position by bending the knees, taking the feet as wide as your mat and collapsing the knees in towards one another. And as you come into your seated or laying position, and as you begin to settle in, ask yourself if there's, what more can you do for yourself and your body here to get maybe 1% more comfortable? If you are feeling cold now, and if you have another jacket or sweater, I do recommend to grab it. Maybe ask your neighbor to borrow theirs. When we come into this restorative mode, this healing mode, the body will get colder. And so if you're cold now, you will get even colder as the session progresses. So please grab any additional sweaters or jackets.
I already turned up the heat, so if you still feel cold, you really need to meet.
Yeah, because if you're cold now, you will be really cold in 60 minutes.
I've already turned up the heat, so it's at 7.5, by the way.
And when I was setting up, I was sweating. Now I'm like, where's my jacket?
How big is your car?
What's that? I just have
Do
a
you drive an
SUV.
SUV?
Yeah,
Okay.
it fits.
That's
Can
fine.
we start sitting and then lay down?
Yes, yeah. If you want to start sitting and then lay down, or vice versa, start laying and then come seated, by all means. Take any variation that works for you. We are going to be laying, so if there's something that you can place behind your head to help cushion it, that would also be helpful. And again, we want to start to, as we take this session, we start to straddle that line between conscious and unconscious. And a great way to tell if you're there is if you lose all temporal concepts, yeah? If you feel like we just started, but I'm now starting to pull us out, that means you landed in that deep session. Where it feels like you've been in this laying position forever, but also at the same time you just entered. That's that line between conscious and unconscious. That's why the question of keeping time, that actually helps to undo, that will undo some of that landing into that realm. And if it's okay with you, start to close the eyes. And just take 3 breaths in through the nose and out through the mouth. And after you've taken your 3rd breath, begin to return back to your normal breathing, your autonomic breath. And as you come back to your normal autonomic breath, start to presence yourself into this room further by noticing the sounds of the room. The gentle hum of the heating system, footsteps, movement of jackets, voices outside. even the sound of your breath. With your eyes closed, visualize the four corners of this room, the ceiling above and the floor beneath, this container that we are all in. Feel the mat and the floor beneath you. Notice what parts of your body are making contact with your mat. Sits bones, outer shins, entirety of your back, the back of your head. Notice that contact between your body and the earth. And starting at the crown of your head, slowly walk down the body. Notice the sensations within each muscle, each bone, each joint. Walking down the spine one vertebrae at a time. Or taking the feet closer or further apart. Start to take your mind's attention to your breath without changing it. Notice the inhalations and the exhalations. Notice the length of the inhale and the length of the exhale. As you begin to bring attention to your breath, maybe you notice that the breath lengthened. That's okay. Notice where you feel the breath in your body most. Do you feel the movement in the shoulders or the chest? Does the breath move the rib cage or the belly? Can you bring that movement lower into the belly? Allow the belly to expand and contract with each inhale and exhale. Belly breathing, as we like to call it in meditation, coming into the full breath, full inhalation, and full exhalation. Notice the subtle pause at the top of each inhale, and the subtle pause at the bottom of each exhale. A natural pause. Not trying to hold the breath in or out, just a very subtle, organic ebb and flow. As you draw your awareness to that pause at the top and the pause at the bottom, can you create just a little bit more space? Again, without holding your breath. Staying in comfort. Maybe that pause is just a millisecond longer, not a whole lot. And then allowing yourself to come back to your normal breathing. Back to your normal autonomic breath. Allowing yourself for these next 60 or so minutes to just be. Begin to draw awareness back to your breath. Noticing the inhalations and the exhalations once more. Return back to that subtle pause at the top of the inhale and that subtle pause at the bottom of the exhale. Notice if there's naturally a little bit more space here. Return back to the sensations within your body. Noticing the floor beneath you once more. The parts of your body making contact with the earth. Your sits bones, your shin, your back, your head. Feel the earth beneath you. Coming back into this container, this space, this room. With the eyes closed, notice the floor beneath you, the ceiling above, and the four walls that surround you. Beginning to take some very subtle, gentle movements, perhaps starting at the fingers and the toes. Maybe a gentle nod of the head left and right, or up and down. Movements in the wrists and the ankles. A shift of the hips left and right. Maybe a roll of the shoulders. For those laying, when you're ready, coming into a nice long head to toe stretch. For those seated, reach your fingertips above towards the ceiling and press your sits bones into your mat. When you're ready, starting to make your way into a comfortable seated position, facing any which way feels good to you. Taking one hand over the heart and one hand over the belly. Coming back into your belly breathing just as you began this session. Feeling the expansion of the belly with each inhale and the contraction of the belly with each exhale. Notice the ease in your breath, the calmness settling in. Feel your heartbeat with the opposite hand. Starting to take your palms to prayer at heart center. Pressing your thumbs against your sternum and your sternum against your thumbs. We'll conclude this session with one breath together as a community. Exhale all your breath empty. Slow inhale for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Slow exhale, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Returning back to your normal breath, your autonomic breath. And with gratitude, we take a gentle bow down. Welcome back, everybody. You were in the soundscape for about 75 minutes. I lost track of time. That tends to happen. That's why I keep a timer. I ignored it and kept going. So yeah, you were in there for about 75 minutes. I know I said 60, but 75 also another reason why I don't keep track of time. I lose track of time myself. So some of you may feel a bit groggy right now, like you just woke up. Some of you fell asleep. That's okay. Some of you thought you may have been awake the whole time, but as you're now starting to come to a seated position and looking around, you might feel a haze in your vision. Perfectly normal. That means that you got in there. Some of you were like, wait, you said 75 minutes, we just laid down. You definitely got in there, yeah. So if you've lost all temporal sense, all track of time, meaning you felt like you were in there forever, but at the same time you felt like we just entered, that's when you've entered that realm between just. Some of you were thinking the entire time. Perfectly okay, perfectly normal. Some of you may have found that very uncomfortable. Also perfectly okay, perfectly normal. So again, the experience is very unique and personal to each and every person. Some of you may have felt some parts of it was soothing, other parts jarring, the entire thing soothing. Some of you again fell asleep. I probably guess maybe 20% of this room fell asleep at one point. There was a couple of additions to the soundscape. Not gonna name names. Again, if you fell asleep, don't beat yourself up. It happens all the time. Every time I take a sound bath, as an attendee, not as a practitioner, I have a tendency to fall asleep at some point. Sometimes in the beginning, sometimes in the end. But one of the reasons why I like to mix up the instrument, because one set of instruments might be very lulling for you, and then suddenly I strike the gong, you're like, whoa, what happened? I'm awake. And that's one of the reasons why I kind of interleave the instruments back and forth, is just to see, try to keep people in the room, not necessarily completely float out to outer space the entire time. Couple of notes around this. Some of you may get vivid dreams tonight, again, perfectly normal. Some of you might have an emotional release sometime today or in the next couple of days. Let it happen. Again, try not to analyze it. Just come back to your breathing, acknowledge the sensations and feelings that you're feeling. Just needed to work through and work out. Please drink plenty of water. Again, sometimes these sessions can work out a lot of energy, help facilitate that release. Just stay hydrated, especially if you've been doing a lot of arm balances. Stay hydrated. And yeah, nobody's driving. You guys are one more session after this? Yeah, so no one's going anywhere else. I'd give you before you drive off, make sure you're fully present, because some of you might feel dazy, like just not fully there. Like anybody who's ever taken like an afternoon nap, like an hour and a half nap in the afternoon, you wake up, you're like, I have no clue what time it is. Is it morning or is it night? Some of you might be feeling that right now. That's perfect normal as well. That's just your body trying to your mind and your body trying to reintegrate back in. Yeah, and so sorry if it's an arm balance class after. Some of you might be falling over. It's because you're still kind of reintegrating back into the body again. 75 minutes is quite a bit of time to be in that space, right? To kind of leave your body, to unplug your mind. And so there's gonna be a little bit of haziness for some folks. If anybody has any questions, I'll be around for a little bit longer. It'll take me actually longer to pack up than to set up.
Look at the camera and tell you the contact information. In case they're dizzy,
they're gonna find you?
I'm on social. I'm not on social media as much. I do check my messages. I'm on Instagram. My handle is Crazy Fire Monkey. Just as spelled out, Crazy Fire Monkey. My element, my spirit animal, and yeah, why not Crazy Monkey? That's my Instagram. I haven't posted in like a year. I've kind of went on this little detox from social media. I do check my messages, so I'm still available there. That's probably the best place if you want to message me. I do offer sound healing twice a month, or not twice a month, once every other month, bi-monthly, is that the right term? Mm-hmm. Every other month, in Santa Clara, right by Santa Clara University. Studio is called Rebel Rise Studio. Our next one is, we had one this month, so the next one will be February. We're deciding whether to keep it on Friday or shift it to Sunday. We're probably going to do Sunday afternoon in lieu of the restorative class. So February will be the next one that I will be offering over there. So if you want to come, check it out. Rebel Rise Studio. They're also on Instagram. I think the handle is Rebel Rise. You can search it in Santa Clara. It's just like 2 blocks away from Lafayette, right by the university. So if you want to come and experience another session,
Can you
come
show what, like, the different instruments?
Oh, yeah.
Like the waves, the little tinkling of the bells?
Yeah, sure.
Just curious.
So the wave sound that I kind of cut the middle of the session, this is an ocean drum. It's just a bunch of beads on a drum.
I think it's a raindrop, not waves. Is it raindrops or waves?
They're waves. I don't have a rain stick. Rain stick is another instrument.
I thought it's rain.
Some people will hear rain, some people will hear ocean. That one, again, it's very polarizing, I found. Some people like find it really relaxing, like I'm at a beach in Hawaii. Other people are like, great white, I'm about to drown. So that's a very interesting one to do, and I always like to do that in the middle just to break things up. The bowls, of course, again, each one of these play a different tone depending on which instrument I use, whether I'm using the suede striker. Or if I just strike it, it's a little bit sharper. I began the sessions with my metal bowl. This is actually my first bowl that I've ever had. It was for personal meditation, but I just love the sound of this. So I have kept this with me for 10, 15 years now. It's been a while. I had another bowl, but I ended up gifting it to someone else. And I've kind of gone to the crystal. So each one of these produces a different tone. And then, of course, the gong behind me, depending on which mallet I use, they will produce different sounds. So the kind of cosmic sound that you were hearing, very deep, kind of ethereal, that's this very heavy gong. The kind of rolling chime, or rolling gong, that's the mallets. That I can sustain. And then, I've heard these described in different ways. I think of them as whales, but someone said dinosaurs last time. And so depending on which one I play, someone said dinosaur, another student said a horror film. That kind of stuck to me, unfortunately. But I've never equated that to a horror film, but now I'm conscious about playing the small one at this point on. Someone said that, I was like, okay, I know where your mind was during this session. And then I ended up with, the end was one of my favorites, the Kashi chimes. So there's 4 of them, they're elemental, so each one's supposed to represent an element. There's little tines inside and a marble that hits each one. I like to call this my fairy chime. I always love bringing people back with this. It's a very gentle, high-pitched sound, so that even if you're asleep, most people will wake up to it because it's high-pitched and it's a bit sharp. But it's so gentle. It reminds me of Tinkerbell. So if there's so many people in the room, I usually will play 2 of them, 1 in each ear. But because there were so many, some of you that were seated got fortunate to get 2. Most of you just got 1. And so I love using that because there's a chunk of the audience that usually, when I played, I just see the smile come to their face, like, oh, hi, we're back here, right? Some of you did smile as I came by, I just love it. It's a really great way to wake up. I'm still trying to figure out how to wire this into my alarm clock. Right? Could you imagine just waking up to that every morning? So these are the kashi chimes. So those were the instruments that I played. Again, depending on how I hit it, they did produce different sounds. In the past, I've gotten students asking me if I was playing a soundtrack. Like the ocean one, people think that there's a soundtrack to that. I was like, no. Everything was fully acoustic. Everything was all these instruments in front of me that I produced.
Thank you.
Yeah. Wild was like, it felt like there were like 100 different instruments.
Yeah, and I did go
I thought
around.
there was like a bunch of hidden stuff or something.
Yeah, and I did go around the room, so some of you
yeah.
are like, wait, I heard you there, but then I heard you there, and then I heard you over there. I was like, yeah, well, that's because I was here, then I was there, then I was here. So the kashi chimes, the ocean drum, and the metal bowl, I did walk around the room. In a setup like this, it does make it challenging. Luckily, nobody had any eyeglasses nearby, right? Everything was fairly well contained, but there were some very tight spaces that I was trying not to step on anyone, trip, or drop the instrument on anybody. So if you heard me, you're like, wait, I felt like you were just above me. I was, right? Some of you kind of woke up, you got your eyes opened up with a costume. You're like, oh, hi, you're right there. It's because I was walking around the room. Yeah. Cool. Any other questions?
You also grow a lot of plants.
Yes, I'm an avid gardener. I converted my entire front yard into an edible landscape.
There you go.
An edible landscape?
Yes, I have technically 13 raised beds, a fruit fence, so instead of a regular fence, it's a spallied apple tree, a dragon fruit, raspberry bushes, and grapes that create a fence. And it's year-round, and so I just switched over maybe a month ago, into the winter, and so it's a lot of radishes and brassicas and salads. And then in 2 months, it'll be the spring vegetables will start to seed them. So I did that because we were in a drought for so many years, and we stopped watering the lawn. It became brown, and it was this annual weeds, dirt, and so I decided to look into permaculture and figure out a way to be water wise, but at the same time make the garden look good. So it's a drip irrigation system that I converted the old sprinkler, waters it maybe 3 minutes each day depending on the temperature. So I adjust it, and then I mulch the entire yard, and basically have enough food for my family and my neighbors. So all I need is a cow and a couple chickens. So yeah, I'm a gardener. Great way but it's also a great way. I really like, if you have a front lawn, it's lawn, just grass, just start with a small bed. It's a really great way to meet your neighbors. Ever since I did that, I have just been chatting with everybody that walks by. They come by and they're like, wow, we love coming by your house to see what's changed. Because every time of the different parts of the year, it's different. Like right now, I have a bunch of fava beans in the front, and they're starting to create a hedge of fava beans. If anybody wants fava beans, hit me up in a couple weeks. I will have pounds and pounds of it, and I don't care for fava beans, it's just great for the soil. That's an easy one to do, so if you need fava bean seeds, let me know. You can come by and pick some up. All you do is throw them and they will pop up. If you've never had a fava bean, they taste good, but once you grow pounds of them, you kind of get sick. It's like that neighbor that grows zucchini. Yeah, it's kind of a gardening joke. If you have a neighbor that gardens, chances are you're going to get a zucchini showing up at your door. Because if you have ever grown a zucchini, by a certain time, you just get sick of it. And they are prolific growers in this area. Yeah. No, I wasn't growing any when I was in Vibe, but another yoga studio before
They
the
will have no
pandemic.
idea.
When I came to the class, I would bring bags of zucchinis for my students. Like, anybody, just take them, please. They were like this big, like that big. And I was like, sorry, I forgot about them. So.
You know, Pusha, do you remember you asked me the question about the type of instructor? There you go, subjective. This is a good one, never got complained. This one, high on the list.
Cool. Any other questions?
Why do you call like root chakra, heart chakra? Like why is it called that?
It's we have 7 chakras in the body, right? The roots starting at the pelvis, and then they're just energy wheels. There's a whole history about chakras, and there's just the placement of it, right? And so the root chakra is here at the root of the pelvis. And then you have your crown chakra, which is at the top of the head, and they're energy wheels. And depending if you go kind of, there's actually there are some scientific work being done to kind of prove that chakras exist. There has been some studies being done that has now quantified subtle energy. Yeah, so that's the energy field that's around us. It goes about 3 feet from us, and the chakras help emit that energy. And so I don't know if anybody's noticed this, but if you're like in a room and you're kind of within 6 to 3 feet, and even if you don't see them, you can kind of feel them behind. That's that energy interaction in there. And so that energetic field that we have, it's called subtle energy field from the scientific term. In other terms, it's called the Akashic records, right? Or the aura, commonly known as aura. It's the subtle energy, and that energy is centered in those chakras. And a great way to learn, I found, a great way to learn about the chakras and energy is, anybody seen the cartoon Avatar, the Last Airbender? I watched as a kid and it was great, but now after taking yogic training and being in the yoga, I'm like, wow, a lot of that is actually really true.
They did a lot of research.
They did, and it was like, rewatching it as an adult, I was like, wow, I'm looking at that cartoon in a whole different lens now. Especially when Aang got his energy locked, and he had to work through his energy starting at the root chakra. And I was like, wow, that is really cool. Like, it's a whole different. So if anybody has seen it as a younger, and now that you're in your yogic journey, I really highly recommend for each of you to watch it again. Especially the ones where it talks about Aang's chakras and Aang's energy. Because that's how he gets into the avatar state, is connecting with his inner self, right? It's kind of akin to us as yogis connecting into our higher self, our inner being, right? Rather than the being that we present ourselves out to the public or to our day, but the true self, the self that's within. And a lot of that has to do with the energy that's within our body.
Can you play each of the sounds individually and let us know which chakra it corresponds?
So this one is the root. This one is, blinking out now, solar plex. Solar plex. No, sacral. Sacral's next. Solar plex. So root, sacral is right on the belly button. Solar plex right around the stomach. Heart. Throat. Third eye. And then crown. And it said that we have actually 2 additional chakras, which is below the root and above and that connects us to the heaven and the earth. I forget what those are called, but it's a connecting chakra that connects us to Gaia or Mother Earth, and then into the heavens. That allows us to kind of be in this plane. Right? But these are the 7 chakras. Now there's 8 bowls because I have 2 to our root. They're the same tone. One is 1 octave higher, one is 1 octave lower. Just because the size, one is a little bit more bass heavy, the other one's a little higher pitched. But it's still C. And they do equate to they do equate to kind of the Western musical scale.
What are those?
Which one?
String, yeah.
Oh, these are chimes to break everyone out. There's a very high pitched meditation chimes. Oh yeah, that was the last instrument. Any other questions? Great. Well, thanks everybody.
Thank you very much, Bob. Thank you. Wow.
have all the information. If you want more, Lisa, contact her.
For the Philippines too.
Can I have two gentlemen help up if possible? I'm gonna switch on.
Give me a second, let me pack this up first.
Again, we're going to take some break, and we try to finish early today, even though everybody is talking very busy to each other, maybe not hearing what I'm saying. I'm trying to get things done early.
Untwist everything.
I will still have two things I want to correct you guys that I saw in the practice that you don't normally see in the class.
I always there.
Yeah, so saying you enjoy yourself?
Yeah.
I guess each time when I do retreat, I try to connect with like different activities so you can see more variety, like yoga or Zen related stuff.
What did you do last time?
Tai Chi.
Oh, Tai Chi.
Tai Chi, water floating.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, I have. I gave out the shirt like this, exactly like this, and I actually had somebody to come to teach painting coil on the fish on the thing. Obviously, mine is an alien fish, so
Why is it obvious?
because it's very obvious.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'm gonna have to take the one.
you have to because I wear it every time. Yeah. Jasmine, you don't have more questions?
I'm try to keep my mouth shut.
What?
I'm trying to keep my mouth shut.
What?
I know my questions, I'm gonna Google them after.
K-O-S-H-I. Caution.
Don't want to be annoying.
Why would that be?
It can be.
What else do you need?
Pretty quick.
Sam, you're gonna buy one of those? do you have a discount mark?
I don't have any discounts, unfortunately.
Actually, I was in Asia. I actually want to buy one of these because it's like cheaper.
Oh yeah,
Yeah. It's much cheaper.
They're pretty
Why are you
expensive.
laughing? It's much cheaper.
Where?
They're like
In
$50
Asia.
a chime. Yes.
Yeah, it's very expensive.
They're $50 a chime.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you can get like probably it's still expensive, but I think it's like one half. See, it's like original package. He's gonna ship it back to Amazon now.
Actually, I need to replace it because half of the bubbles are already popped.
You can even have inside your room.
Yeah. No, I'm talking about this is expensive, even in Asia. I think so. It's cheap. Okay, it's all relative. The word cheap.
Yeah, it's relative.
Right. I mean, Mark is loaded, so it's okay.
Oh my god. They're all same or different?
No, they're all different. There's numbers. If you look inside, there's a number.
This is different.
Yeah,
this
and,
one sounds completely different.
Each of
than that
them corresponds to an element, so earth, fire, wind, and water.
Okay.
And so they produce a slightly different sound.
Oh, I love it.
I have one. I gifted it to a friend because I stopped practicing it.
Give it to me.
It's not a hand
No, but these two are the same?
No, they all are
It's a
different.
little different and it's a lot harder. So I never quite got it, but I did play with
Like a
it.
smaller one?
No, it was big, but it's a thicker metal, and then there are cuts inside of it.
I always want to get a.
I was able to play with it.
But like some people like Anise, you're annoying the shit out of it, right? The hand.
That particular, I think this one has to drive me a little crazy.
Yeah, each one is a little different. So if you,
Which one did you play this
I was going to get somebody
just
to
write
hand
that one's
pan because you are here.
Kashi chime. Yeah. That one is really hard to strum. It takes a while to get it to resonate, and it's not very loud. So I just strum that one. Yeah, it was online. It was at a kind of a website that you can get sound healing instruments from. Silver Sky Impacts, I think was the name. They have all kinds of equipment, sound gear.
I want it at home so I can hear. I'm gonna look it up.
Even the bell was very nice.
Oh yeah, my meditation chime.
This one I love, my God.
So yeah, I have to try to find an actual hand pan.
Right.
It plays way different than a tongue. You don't have to hit it very hard to get that. And it has that resolution. So it's such a long. With a tongue drum, it cannot fix the sound.
Always got one good hand.
I've wanted one for a long time.
Do you like take classes, or is this like okay, you kind of hear the sound, so kind of like mimic, and then get the song?
Yeah, because the thing with hand pans is it's an intuitive instrument. So
Right.
You would buy it on the scale that you resonate with. So it's not like it's not one of every key. It's not like A, B, C, D, E, F, G. It's like A sharp, E flat, A third octave, and so each one's a little bit different. So that's what makes it kind of hard to buy. One, they're expensive, and you kind of want to know which one you will like. I don't know how many places offer it.
No, you have to buy it online.
You have to buy it online, which
You
is
have to buy it online.
kind of risky.
I think they're kind of like
They're handmade. That's why it's so expensive. They're made in, I think they originated in Germany. But now there's a couple places that build it, and then you can actually get some you can get some that are made in like Asia, China.
like everything you have to buy it from Asia.
Yeah.
And otherwise, if you go to India, definitely buy it.
Yeah.
It's metal balls, very small balls. So Mark, you bought this one there. Where did you buy this one? US or somewhere else? And what's this called?
It's an ocean drum.
It's an ocean drum.
Yeah. I forget where I bought that from.
Very nice.
Yeah.
It's too good. This one had a nice
I must have actually bought that on Amazon. Yeah, you can get these things on Amazon.
All right, if you're using iPhone, you took video, you took pictures, air dropping.
They do have a rain stick, so it's a stick with a bunch of beads, and when you tilt it, all the beads fall, and it sounds like trickling. I actually want to get one of those as well.
Is it like you just kind of like hang it?
No, it's like a baton, and you basically turn it, and then all of the beads will fall, and it sounds like rain falling. And then once they all fall, and then you turn it again. You just keep turning it, and you keep doing this. Yeah. Yeah, go ahead. Like what?
The song that came up with that. Okay.
Yeah, because it's such a high pitched tone. It might trigger a migraine. Yeah, I've gotten that. Certain sounds, like maybe some of the higher pitched ones. It's soothing. The chimes. Yeah. Yeah, because it's a pure. The bowls are pure tones, and so that might be enough to kind of feel like it's piercing that
So right
migraine.
now I can feel it on my side.
Yeah.
Still there.
Okay.
Yes, but it's like doing a lighter or it's like to disappear. Yes, you have.
No, it's it happens where some of the sounds make
Sorry, I have to like betray you.
like migraine or stiffness.
I know I have to betray you guys because all this
reaction is
lame people you guys
loose for some people.
I have to betray
It really
you.
depends on the energy.
And then they after long to
Yeah.
and then there kind of like when the more
Wow.
Yeah. And that happens. I've gotten people say that some of the songs so like make you feel like you're not really migraine.
You finally enjoy something from Barry.
Show in the body it's like tightness or cramp. That happens. Yeah.
Right now I feel my migraine.
Can I just pull somebody on the street from the street or something?
Yeah.
So that's normal.
It happens. I wouldn't say it's normal, but it does happen. It's normal and then it happens. People here and there.
I do a lot of things in the background.
I was thinking and I tried to keep moving.
It's like
Then when you said
eagle thing.
75 minutes, like really?
Yeah, so you
It's just 30 minutes.
you probably relax at some point. And then there
That
was
I didn't realize.
exactly. There were some areas where you were relaxed, and then the parts where you weren't relaxed.
You just want to have
You're
fun.
thinking that's when your mind was awake.
Like I'm kind of like distracted with that.
Okay, making sure, student, making sure before we left, yes, we do a group picture, okay? Okay, group picture, remember, okay?
How did you do with the gong? Did you find that relaxing? Or
Yeah, the gong, I'm fine. It's just the
bowls?
so very
Yeah, I think it's the high pitch, the higher pitch. Yeah,
because that one I feel like so
it's a bit uncomfortable. No, again, it depends on like what you're working through, what's happening internally.
Oh, check it out.
And so what might be happening is the bowls, the bowls are
Oh, isn't it better on that
kind
side?
of cooking area. Maybe it's something with the third eye, or
Figure it out.
there.
I
I mean, you were maybe
Don't eat too much. You still have one little session left. Everybody is like so relaxed after Mark. And I'm gonna freaking kill you. Jesus Christ. Mark, why don't you have a group picture with us?
Okay.
No, I'm not asking you to just take the picture. Hey. I'm just gonna use this as well, so I should be fine. Just go there. Jasmine, what? No, I think it's good. Okay, yeah. Okay.
Some of them can kneel and then we have a cycle. 3 would be good. Some of us can kneel.
Mark, go. It's like highly dangerous. Okay.
Okay.
I'm good. I'm taking video, by the way. Actually, I want to be closer.
Is there a time?
No, it's a video.
No. Is there a timer on this?
Oh, this is heavy.
You just hold it.
No, stay. One more block.
Oh, I thought you didn't need it.
Now I need. Actually,
You can take us. Barry's not.
Lay in the
That's-
grass.
Yeah, where are you gonna go, Barry?
I'll
Sorry.
take one here while Barry's setting up. Ready? 1,
What?
2. Barry, your head, move. 1, 2.
Barry, just lie in the front.
Yeah,
Wait, watch out for Alessa's glasses then.
What? What?
So the conchi chimes, the ring, the ocean drum, and the metal bowl, I did walk around the room. In a setup like this, it does make it challenging. Luckily, nobody had any eyeglasses. Soundtrack, like the ocean one, people think that there's a soundtrack to that. I was like, no. Everything was fully acoustic. Everything was all these instruments in front of me that I produced.
Wow, there's like, it felt like there were like 100 different instruments.
Yeah, and I did. Go
I thought there
around-
was like a bunch of hidden stuff or something.
Yeah, and I did go around the room, so some people will hear ocean. That one again, it's very polarizing. I found some people like find it really relaxing, like I'm at a beach in Hawaii. Other people are like, great white, I'm about to drown. So that's a very interesting one to do, and I always like to do that in the middle just to break things up. The bowls, of course, again, each one of these play a different tone depending on which instrument I use, whether I'm using the suede striker. I can get it to resonate on a tone, or if I just strike it, it's a little bit sharper. I began the sessions with my metal bowl. This was actually my first bowl that I've ever had. It was for personal meditation, but I just love the sound of this. So I have kept this with me for 10, 15 years now. It's been a while. I had another bowl, but I ended up gifting it to someone else. And I've kind of gotten to the crystal. So each one of these produces a different tone. And then, of course, the gong behind me, depending on which mallet I use, they will produce different sounds. So the kind of cosmic sound that you were hearing, very deep, kind of ethereal, that's this very heavy gong. The kind of rolling chime, or rolling gong, that's the mallets. That I can sustain. And then, I've heard these described in different ways. I think of them as whales, but someone said dinosaurs last time. And so depending on which one I play, I think of a baby whale in that one. Someone said dinosaur, and then their students said a horror film. That's really unfortunately. Would have never equated that to a horror film, but now I'm conscious about playing the small this one on. Someone said that, I was like, okay, I know where your mind was in this session. And then I ended up with the end was one of my favorites, the kashi chimes. So there's 4 of them, they're elemental, so each one's supposed to represent an element. There's little tines inside and a marble that hits each one. I like to call this my fairy chime. I always love bringing people back with this. It's a very gentle, high-pitched sound, so even if you're asleep, most people will wake up to it because it's high-pitched and it's a bit sharp, but it's so gentle. It reminds me of Tinkerbell. So there's so many people in the room. I usually will play 2 of them, 1 in each ear, but because there were so many, some of you that were seated got fortunate to get 2. Most of you just got 1, and so I love using that because there's a chunk of the audience that usually, when I play it, I just see the smile come to their face, like, oh, hi, we're back here, right? Some of you did smile as they came by, I just love it. It's a really great way to wake up. I'm still trying to figure out how to wire this into my alarm clock. Right? Could you imagine just waking up to that every morning? So these are the kashi chimes. So those were the instruments that I played. Again, depending on how I hit it, I have a tendency to fall asleep at some point. Sometimes in the beginning, sometimes in the end. But one of the reasons why I like to mix up the instrument, because one set of instruments might be very lulling for you, and then sudden I strike the gong, you're like, whoa, what happened? I'm awake. And that's one of the reasons why I kind of interleave the instruments back and forth, is just to see, try to keep people in the room, not necessarily completely float out to outer space the entire time. A couple of notes around and the contraction of the belly with each exhale. Notice the ease in your breath, calmness settling in. Feel your heartbeat with the opposite hand. Starting to take your palms, prayer and heart center, pressing your thumbs against your sternum, and your sternum against your thumbs. We'll conclude this session with one breath together as a community. Exhale all your breath empty. Slow inhale for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Slow exhale, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Returning back to your normal breath, your autonomic breath. And with gratitude, we take a gentle bow down. Welcome back, everybody. You were in the soundscape for about 75 minutes. I lost track of time. That tends to happen. That's why I keep a timer. I ignored it and kept going. So yeah, you were in there for about 75 minutes. I said 60, but same thing. Also, the reason why I don't keep track of time, I lose track of time myself. So some of you may feel a bit groggy right now, like you just woke up. Some of you fell asleep. That's okay. Some of you thought you may have been awake the whole time, but as you're now starting to come to a seated position and looking around, you might feel a haze in your vision. Perfectly normal. That means that you got in there. Some of you were like, wait, you said 75 minutes, we just laid down. You definitely got in there, yeah. So if you've lost all temporal sense, all track of time, meaning you felt like you were in there forever, but at the same time you felt like you just entered, that's when you've entered that realm between conscious and unconscious. Some of you were thinking the entire time. Perfectly okay, perfectly normal. Some of you may have found that very uncomfortable. Also perfectly okay, perfectly normal. So again, the experience is very unique and personal to each and every person. Some of you may have felt some parts of it was soothing, other parts jarring, the entire thing soothing. Some of you again fell asleep. Probably guess maybe 20% of this room fell asleep at one. Noticing the floor beneath you once more. The parts of your body making contact with the earth. Your sits bones. And that subtle pause at the bottom of the exhale. Notice if there's naturally a little bit more space. Are not insured right now, so I was really worried about that. A lot of stuff going on, and so this time of year is where I really love to offer this as an offering to students. And I usually do a lot of sessions come the December time period because it's where I feel like a lot of people need that kind of 60 minutes, 75 minutes, 90 minutes. Now, as we come into this session, it's entirely up to you whether you want to stay seated. If you want to lay down, I was not. I was in my body, but I was also having this kind of astral projection. It was the most bizarre thing that I've ever felt in my body and in my mind. And since then, I've kind of sought out some baths in the Bay Area. Back then, around 2012, 14, there wasn't a whole lot in the South Bay. If you wanted to sound healing, they had some in San Francisco, at the Cathedral, Berkeley, and Santa Cruz. LA had a lot, but not in the South Bay. Like the ocean one, people think that there's a soundtrack to that. I was like, no. Everything was fully acoustic. Everything was all these instruments in front of me that I produced.
Wild is like, it felt like there were like 100 different instruments.
Yeah, and I did go
I thought there
around-
was like a bunch of hidden stuff or something.
Yeah, and I did go around the room, so I have a tendency to fall asleep at some point. Sometimes in the beginning, sometimes in the end. But one of the reasons why I like to mix up the instrument, because one set of instruments might be very lulling for you, and then all of a sudden I strike the gong, you're like, whoa, what happened? I'm awake. And that's one of the reasons why I kind of interleave the instruments back and forth, is just to see, try to keep people in the room, not necessarily completely float out to outer space the entire time. A couple of notes around. And the contraction of the belly with each exhale. Notice the ease in your breath. Calmness settling in. Feel your heartbeat with the opposite hand. Starting to take your palms, prayer and heart center, pressing your thumbs against your sternum, and your sternum against your thumbs. We'll conclude this session with one breath together as a community. Exhale all your breath empty. Slow inhale for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Slow exhale, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Returning back to your normal breath, your autonomic breath. And with gratitude, we take a gentle bow down. Welcome back, everybody. You were in the soundscape for about 75 minutes. I lost track of time. That tends to happen. That's why I keep a timer. I ignored it and kept going. So yeah, you were in there for about 75 minutes. I said 60, but same thing. Also, the reason why I don't keep track of time, I lose track of time myself. So some of you may feel a bit groggy right now, like you just woke up. Some of you fell asleep. That's okay. Some of you thought you may have been awake the whole time, but as you're now starting to come to a seated position and looking around, you might feel a haze in your vision. Perfectly normal. That means that you got in there. Some of you were like, wait, you said 75 minutes, we just laid down. You definitely got in there, yeah. So if you've lost all temporal sense, all track of time, meaning you felt like you were in there forever, but at the same time you felt like you just entered, that's when you've entered that realm between conscious and unconscious. Some of you were thinking the entire time. Perfectly okay, perfectly normal. Some of you may have found that very uncomfortable. Also perfectly okay, perfectly normal. So again, the experience is very unique and personal to each and every person. Some of you may have felt some parts of it was soothing, other parts jarring, the entire thing soothing. Some of you again fell asleep. Probably guess maybe 20% of this room fell asleep at one. Noticing the floor beneath you once more. parts of your body making contact with the earth. Your sits bones. And that subtle pause at the bottom of the exhale. Notice if there's naturally a little bit more space